Check one, two. I also just went to a destination wedding in Hawaii. That was really fun.
Hawaii.
But I did chip a tooth on a chicken bone, so that was a damper on the trip. But we got through it.
Chicken wing, or was it just like a big chicken?
It was like a bone-in chicken, and we were just ripping it apart, eating it, because it was like from a roadside stand. And I swear, it just looked fine.
You can get like a roasted chicken from just a stand on the side of the corner.
Yeah, basically. I mean, they
Costco prices.
It was pretty cheap. I know. I mean, it was probably like $15 for a whole chicken, and a few sides. But
Okay.
it was really good all the way up until I took a big chomp into a bone.
And front tooth? What tooth?
Back tooth.
Back. Oh, damn.
Yeah. So I gotta get. I mean, I gotta set up an appointment to get that checked. I went to the dentist the other day just to get it looked at. They're like, yeah, it's gonna need a crown, and your insurance doesn't cover it, so it's gonna be like $1,000. I'm like, okay, well, I can't do that right now, so I gotta wait like a month or something. Like, well, we recommend that you get it done right away for a crown. I'm like, well, do you have payment plans? They go, no. And I'm like, okay, well, then you're not really giving me a lot of options here.
Yeah, it's like, then I can't do it, dude.
I'm like, can you shave it down? Because there's just one corner of it that's really sharp. And I was like, can you just like shave it down or something? Like, well, we'd have to charge you for an emergency augmentation. I was like, get the fuck out of here.
It's like, that's $1,000.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you don't have a little like tool that you can just sand this. It can't take that long. I'm just talking about one. I'm not saying like you got to do the whole tooth. I'm just saying there's a little corner.
Time will grind it down.
And it has been, honestly.
Okay, yeah, it's like, time will do that.
Honestly, it has been. Just kind of annoying.
Yeah, it is. Well, sorry that happened. Yeah,
it's okay.
It was a destination wedding. How close are you to the bride or groom?
I wasn't really. I'd met them a handful of times. Sarah.
So it's your partners.
Yeah, they're really close friends, and it was rad though. I mean, we spent 4 days in Maui. That was beautiful. Like good.
Is that
mix.
where the fire was?
Yeah, Lahaina. So that's like farther on the west side of the island. You wouldn't really even be able to tell there was anything. It was affected in any other way in other parts of the island. You just kind of stayed away from there.
Sure.
But it was a great mix of like activities and relaxing, which was really good. And then Oahu was the wedding, and it was a really small wedding. They were super fun people, like everybody there. So yeah, it's like really good overall.
Yeah, I've been getting. All my friends are like, "Oh, anyone who gets a destination wedding should be like murdered now." Like, I don't know. So you for a destination wedding? Against it?
I'm against it personally. I mean, I don't love people deciding my vacation for me that year because it wasn't cheap. I will say that. I mean, you're looking at a couple grand just to go out there for like a week, and all the things that go into a wedding. Like I got a new suit and you have to do gifts and stuff like that. I mean,
Indochino, did you get that shit tailored or what?
I did.
How'd you
yeah.
get the suit?
Well, a buddy is a manager at Men's Warehouse, and I got a great deal on it.
Always great to have a buddy there.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, well, any place that something's normally a lot more money. I think I got a brand new suit tailored all in like $160.
Damn, yeah, that's great.
It's great. Yeah, I look good in it. We were at another wedding last night. I got a ton of compliments on the suit.
Wow, yeah. Just at a wedding. It's wedding season, huh?
Technically, yeah, but I just kind of stopped being friends with people right around the time they're probably going to get married, so that way I don't have to go to them.
Okay, you're that against
a strategy.
You're against the. It's the one I just went to. They made a big deal about. They had some friends officiate.
Mm-hmm.
And so he did this whole speech about like love rituals, or like how there's not a lot of rituals in life anymore. It was very good. It was very well done.
That's cool.
But yeah, I was thinking like my wife and I, we just self-solemnized during the COVID, and I was like, maybe we should do it. Although I know I'd just be like crying the whole time. Like,
yeah, I'm a pretty emotional person too.
Dude, I couldn't keep it together, and I'd be embarrassed. Even though I was talking with my friends, they're like, well, but we love you. It's fine. Like, you'd be okay. Like, no one's going to be like, gay.
Yeah, none of your comic friends are going to be there to make fun of you.
Yeah, so I was just like, yeah, but it'd be so hard for me to just be that vulnerable in front of people.
Why?
Dude, that's a whole thing in therapy I've been trying to break through.
I mean, I've always been a really emotional person, especially when I was younger, almost too much so, violently one way or the other. Either
violently?
Well, I just mean in the sense of like I would cry or I would get really mad, and I wouldn't be like, I wouldn't hit anybody or get into a fight or anything. I was just like a bad loser, and I would just throw a fucking shit fit if I wasn't playing well or I felt like I could have done better, whatever. I had no wrangle on my emotions when I was younger. I just kind of let everything out. And I think for weddings in particular, if it is a really nice wedding or somebody says something really sentimental, I teared up a little bit last night.
I was just about to ask, you get a little emotional at the
I
wedding?
do, yeah. I mean, I think it's beautiful. Just because I don't want to necessarily go to every wedding doesn't mean I don't think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And the destination one, it was like, it's great. They're good friends of Sarah's, and they've been friends for a really long time. There was no way we weren't gonna go. And of all the places to go, Hawaii was fairly accessible.
That's a good.
I had some friends that got married in Turks and Caicos like a couple years ago. And I wanted to go. It's a beautiful place. They're good friends, but like it was just so much money and there's no way to
Where's
get there.
that at? Turks and Caicos.
It's in the Caribbean.
Oh, okay.
I've never been, but you're looking at there's 3 layovers, hotels every night were at least $400 to $500. And if you're gonna go all that way, you're like, well, I'd like to be here for a week. I don't want to just go for the weekend.
Yeah, you gotta go for at least a week.
Yeah, I just couldn't swing it at the time, and like for that reason, it kind of stinks. But
for that reason,
well, anytime somebody plans one of those, I can't imagine that they know not everybody can make it.
Right? Yeah.
That's okay.
I mean, that's the kind of the point of them doing it. I think people do a destination wedding so that it's a good excuse to just alienate a bunch of people
because they're cowards.
Yeah, my grandma can't come. So yeah, I didn't not invite you. You can't come.
Yeah, exactly. It's just instead of being straightforward and honest and be like, hey, we just don't really want you to come, or we didn't want to invite you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the coward's way out. A destination wedding is the coward's way out.
It really is. Just mass send out invites. You're like, I'm a little surprised you came. Can't say I'm happy about it.
Yeah. Wedding season. It's fun that you're being invited to a lot of weddings.
I'm doing comedy at a wedding in a couple months.
Yeah, just bring that mic a little bit closer to your face. Or that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I'm doing comedy at a wedding in 2 months. Just some people that were kind of
friends.
Regulars that came to the monthly show that I run.
Shit.
And they're cool people. They've been like great about coming to the comedy show that I've been running at Bandit Oak Brewing, and they just they really like comedy. They thought having a comic at their wedding would be fun, and I'm sure I'm a lot cheaper than like Theo Vaughn or something. So I threw a number at them, and they said yes.
Oh,
and
crazy!
We had a meeting about it a couple of weeks ago, just to kind of go over.
They're like no rape jokes.
They said everything's on the table, but luckily I don't have any of those anyway. So, I mean, I'm sure people have asked you about this before too, where they're like, oh, do you like it when you can just say whatever you want? And I'm like, yeah, I guess it's yes, but I don't have material about stuff that a lot of people would find controversial anyway.
Right.
It's like I'm not thinking about controversial things and being like, all right, I need to figure out jokes for this.
Sure.
So I don't really have a ton of that stuff anyway. I do have like a lot of relationship material, which I found out kind of not by accident, but I was doing like a Valentine's show. I was like, relationship material seems like it would be just a good fit for this. And then all in, I was like, I got like at least 20 minutes here that is just about dating.
Bad relationships, good relationships.
Both.
It's like,
just kind of
fuck that bitch is not the punchline.
Yeah.
I mean,
but for the sake of
like your style, but
for the sake of consistency, it's all the same bitch.
Then we got back together. Yeah. This is something else she did.
But when we had the meeting, I was pretty clear about they wanted me to do like 45 minutes. I think I was like, that's a terrible idea. This is your wedding. None of these people know who I am, So I think 30 minutes max. And then I convinced them both to do stand up before me.
Oh, so they're going to try it for the first time and you're going to DJ it. That's a very good end.
Because I still think it's still about you guys.
Yeah.
And it softens the blow a little bit of everybody having an hour to grab cocktails and drinks.
Is it going to be during the cocktail hour or whatever? So like after the ceremony? Before
they
dinner?
wanted to do it right after the ceremony.
Okay. You come up right after the priest leaves and hands the mic off to you?
Yeah. That priest guy that was just up here? He's a hack. Now we've got a pro.
Yeah. Are they going to still stand there while you do it right in between them?
So. Yeah. So I was like, we should do a cocktail hour for like at least 30 minutes, probably an hour after, and then say, hey guys, we've got some entertainment for the night. If everybody could be like reseat themselves and so that way it's just not such an abrupt intro.
Yeah,
so to
big
speak.
juxtaposition.
Mm-hmm. And then I thought them doing it before me. I've done that before at like corporate things where I have somebody else go up in front of me. And just so that way it kind of like eases you into it. And I think also kind of makes you seem a little bit more professional because you're like, oh, there's clearly a stark difference here between somebody that's doing it for the first time and then somebody that's done this before.
Yeah. only set up to win in that situation. Like
Right,
they're going to
yes.
be terrible.
Yeah.
Even well, I mean, everyone's there for them, so they're going to be padding them pretty good.
They're going to
so.
get laughs.
And then
That's
I
the
mean, it's
thing.
going to be a bad set for you.
Yeah.
In this,
Mhm.
it's just not going to be the same response you get like Comedy Works or something. You know, it's
No.
like you just got a totally different standard, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
And we walked through, I asked them, okay, so how did you guys
Man,
meet?
you've been having meetings with them and stuff.
We
That's
did
cool.
one. We had a
Okay.
beer and just kind of like
Okay.
talked through a bunch of things. And and I was like, okay, how'd you guys meet? What are any interesting things that have happened along the way? What was the proposal like? So that way
You're putting a lot of work into this.
Well, I don't want to, they're paying me money to do
Yeah,
this.
they want it to be good.
They're really cool people, and
Okay.
I'm trying, and I've never done a wedding before, so I want to make sure that I'm doing it
Yeah,
right, And
What if this becomes your thing? You're like the wedding comic.
I mean,
now.
if I get paid like that for every gig, then sure, yeah, I'm down for it.
I mean, we talking thousands of dollars?
No, it's
okay. Because I was like, damn, how much are they spending on this wedding? Dude?
it's a good amount of money for 30 minutes. I'll say that.
All right, cool. I mean, I do think money's interesting, but I know a lot of people don't like talking about it.
Yeah, I just don't know if they want it out there.
Oh, sure.
That's
yeah,
all.
that's also someone else's business, I guess. Yeah.
I don't mind talking. I'll tell you off air.
guess.
I'll tell you off air. I don't mind.
And then I'll put it back in. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Just throw like an AI voice of the
Yeah, I'll
dollar
just
amount.
put a big number over the screen.
Yeah.
On your face the whole time.
Mhm.
Say the number.
But I figure with the questions that I asked them, like in the answers they gave me, I can weave that into material.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can kind of start out by saying something about them or something they told me, and then just add that to the beginning of a chunk.
You remember when they met at that tea house?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of things or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
Did you get things like that? Is that like, what's their love story?
We had the meeting a couple weeks ago, so I've got
You've
it in
forgotten
my
all of it.
I've got it in my notepad. So
Wow, you're taking notes and shit. Cool.
Yeah, I think they first started hanging out like rock climbing together.
Okay.
That was like kind of how they got introduced to each other. So I think there's obviously some easy like rock climbing jokes and staring at people's butts hanging up a wall.
there
Just
you
like
go,
that
yep.
kind of thing. Yeah.
When's the wedding?
July 12th, I believe.
Okay, coming up, huh?
Yeah, it's coming up. So the wedding's I believe it's in Golden, so it's close. And then the next day, we got tickets to go see a concert up in Grand Lake.
You're a busy guy. You're constantly doing things.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I feel like it actually helps my anxiety to always be busy, because then if things don't go well, I can at least say, hey, I did everything I could.
Sure.
And sometimes that drives me absolutely crazy, because I feel like I've got so many things to do. Like, I'm a big list guy. I make lists every day of all the things.
Was
that I
this
have to do.
podcast on your list?
Yeah.
Nice. Just bring that mic down just a little bit.
Yeah.
Pull it down a little bit. Yeah, because as you're settling in,
Yeah,
it's all
of
good.
course. I'm getting more comfortable.
No, that's an interesting thing with the anxiety stuff. One thing I thought was interesting. I watched your special. What's the thing? Interrogation.
Yeah, Interrogation, true crime stories.
You talk about growing up Mormon.
Yeah.
And is there some kind of through line with that? I thought that was just an interesting, point of view.
I have a lot of material about growing up Mormon. I have a little bit about the Mormon church. I don't do as much of it anymore, just because I've written new material.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Corey David. See, we can just put it on.
Got the Reno 911 outfits just
I was
for
gonna
this.
say, they say don't wear shorts on stage, but you're doing it.
Well, I feel like Denver comedy's kind of changed that.
Oh, for sure.
Particularly Sam Talent has kind of bucked that trend, and everybody wants to be like Sam. So
true
everybody's
crime
doing it.
stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's always the theme.
Yeah. So when I started doing, Nick Dean and I actually started the show together.
Okay, yeah.
And
Nick
Nick
Dean's
dropped.
got his fingers in a lot of
He
little
does.
pies, doesn't he?
And that was ultimately why he wound up.
He's lost a lot of weight. Look at him.
No, and
He's on
gay
that. Somebody's on Ozempic.
And he's gay now.
Sorry, Georgia.
That's Colton Dowling. He's a great comic. He lives down in Austin.
He comes up every now because he looks familiar.
Yeah,
he comes up pretty
he
often.
was
fairly
coming
often.
up pretty regularly, but now I think he's gotten so busy with his own stuff. He's a part owner of the Creek and the Cave down in Austin
Oh,
too.
okay. Wow, part owner.
And his podcast, Some of This Is Bad, has really taken off in the past few months. So he's just been super busy doing his own thing. But he still comes up here probably twice a year. But yeah, the idea behind it was I always wanted to do a storytelling show. I just thought that was something that was kind of missing. But I also realized storytelling shows are really difficult and hard. And when they don't have a theme, I just don't really know what the audience is expecting out of it, and they can kind of not go off the rails. I just don't find them interesting. You've got stories about all different kinds of things. And some of it's compelling, some of it's funny. But I just had this idea that like crimes are inherently funny, no matter what, because even if you don't have any prepared material about it, in essence, it's somebody just admitting something stupid they did or something stupid that happened to them.
Uh-huh.
So there's gonna be some highlights in there for laughter. But then even if it doesn't get laughs, people like true crime is just so popular. People are interested in whatever happened.
Sure.
We can kind of force the
murder
funny.
story versus like I was in a car chase.
Yeah. Well, I think either one of those
Both
would
are
be
exciting,
Yeah, actually
I
pretty
guess.
exciting. Yeah.
Car chase one wasn't the best.
Yeah, we've had a couple car chases on the show before.
Yeah, that's the one that stuck out to me the most.
Yeah, Jesse's set was great.
Although this one, the guy about his earbuds.
Yeah, because Jeff had done the show before.
Jeff Joe.
And he did the story about his iPods getting stolen, and then he had to go find them in a pawn shop. So this was kind of the follow. Yeah. This was kind of his follow-up story to that one. But yeah, so the other parts of the show are we do a Q&A with the audience after the story. That's the interrogation part. And this idea came later, like a couple shows in, but we give everybody a phone number for the show and they can text in their own crimes.
Is it your number?
It used to be, yeah. I'm still figuring out the best way to go about doing that because I just use a Google number right now.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I want to find an app or something that they can just punch in like a code, and I'd love to be able to keep it completely anonymous where like I don't even see their phone numbers. But I've looked around and I can't find anything that just solves the problem like easily. I need to keep doing some research on that. But the Q&A and the text portion, they kind of just serve as prompts for the comics on stage to just goof around, like improv in a way. Instead of somebody giving us a scene to do, whatever the question is or whatever the text message is, I just tell everybody it's just us bouncing the ball around. Just try to alley-oop each other and say something stupid, and we will try to piggyback on top of that. And as soon as it runs dry, we'll get to another question or we'll get to another text message so we can kind of keep it moving.
Yeah, so the comic, just the format, I'm clear on it. So the comic comes up, they tell a story that crime story, and then you have the audience text in things that they've done. And then you and the comic that's up there riff on that.
Yeah.
You don't interrogate the comics.
No, we do. So
about their story.
Yes. So
I was like a 1, 2, 3 kind of a thing. Where you're trying to tell if it's a lie or something.
No. I kind of started with that.
Okay.
Like,
that was my initial. Yeah.
You kind of have to figure out if the story's true or not. And but then realized pretty quickly it's already hard enough for people to come up with a 7-minute story about something that actually did happen.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to embellish the details on something, go for it, But I don't like shows with too many layers, and I don't like competition style things either. Somebody at one point suggested like, oh, you should have them come back up and the audience votes for whose story was the best. I was like, no, I hate that shit.
Yeah.
I hate making comedy a competition in any way.
Yeah. Competition, not great.
I think it's lame.
That being said, I'm on the comedy work competition this year.
Yes.
I mean, I was signed up, but I don't know when it is.
Yeah, I think mine's in like 2 weeks or whatever.
Oh, well, good luck.
Thanks, you too. But yeah, so with the format, so it's a story, and then I have a co-host every show. So it's all 3 of us on stage.
Okay.
So the co-host and I come back up, and
you have different co-hosts.
Yeah, I kind of rotate through, but the two people I've been using the most recently are Hannah Popkin and Joshua Emerson.
Mm-hmm. When did you kick Nick Dean to the curb, and why?
Nick Dean kicked himself to the curb because of the things you actually had mentioned before. He was just too busy doing other things, and because at the time he was helping with Don't Tell, he was helping with Rotating Tap. Now he's involved with like Microdose, and he helps Georgia with Catfish comedy. Yeah, he's always busy.
He's busy. He's doing a lot.
He's always doing other stuff. So I just kind of kept going with it and did it on the road for the first time. Not long after that, I was going down to Houston anyway, and my buddy owns a comedy club down there. So I was like, hey, would you be willing to, give this show a shot? And he was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And he co-hosted it with me. And that first one, we had like 60 people show up, and that was a pleasant surprise for me because, I'd never done that on the road before.
Always nice to get butts and seats.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, this is cool, right? So then I did it at a couple other places, and then right before I left for like a big trip where I was going to be gone for a month,
wedding tour. You're going to a bunch of weddings.
Yeah, just doing the Southeast Asia wedding circuit.
Yeah. So you're just like wedding crasher guy. You could totally, I could see you slipping into that role.
I know how to make a conversation, you know?
Yeah.
I know how
You'd
to
be the Vince Vaughn character.
just make people laugh. That's all you need.
Yeah.
It's,
Just eating cake with the bride and groom and shit.
It opens a lot of doors. And we did it in Houston again right before I left, and we had like 180 people show up.
Jesus.
And I was okay, we've got.
Damn.
I feel like I've got something here.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I've kind of just kept going with it.
You're like, the universe is giving me a sign.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I've never had that happen before, right?
Yeah, me either.
It's interesting because we both. I don't know. Did you start getting into like entertainment, like with comedy, or were you a musician first or anything?
Yeah, I did like a theater in college and stuff.
Okay.
Improv and stuff.
So I'd never done that stuff. I've only ever done stand up. So, and with stand up, until you become a name, you're just doing spots on other people's shows, right? So you just show up and whatever the show is. It's not on you to get people there.
Yeah.
So this was the first time that I ever had my own idea. And the show is kind of, it's about me. It's my thing. But to have people come to that just feels different as opposed to, doing a showcase spot at Ratio and there's a great crowd there. It's like, that's their thing. It's just stand up. Anybody could technically be on that lineup. They were going to come to Ratio anyway, regardless. Obviously, if there's bigger names on it or whatever, some of those fans come. But yeah, for the first time, I had my own thing that was like, that people wanted to come see. So I've just kind of I've just dived in on it and just kind of gone all in. And I haven't even really been as focused on stand-up recently. Just putting together tour dates for this and working on the social media. I've got plans to release like episodes from the show on the YouTube page in addition to the special.
Yeah, I saw that you like put podcasts. I mean, like, yeah, you cut each one up and like put it out under the podcast.
Yeah, I'm just trying
button.
Trying all different
YouTube.
kinds of things just to get more people to the page.
Yeah.
That was an idea that somebody had given me. So the next phase of the show, like we did the first one at Comedy Works this past week, and that went great. Couldn't have asked for a whole lot more. And we run the show monthly at Dude IDK Studios in Denver.
Yeah.
And they just have like a lot of really great video and audio equipment to just release like high quality versions. They do. Yeah.
I mean,
and it's built into you do too. This
Thank
is nice.
you.
This is
Okay,
good. This is legit. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah,
a compliment goes a long way.
I'm gonna cut out that first part and just go to this compliment.
But because they have all that stuff there, what I want to do with the show is kind of make it's like this hybrid of This Is Not Happening and Kill Tony.
Yeah, I was gonna say, were those like big inspirations? Like, what was it? Because you said you liked storytelling shows. Was it The Moth that was like your first inspiration?
I would say This Is Not Happening was kind of the inspiration behind it. But they changed their theme every show, right? Yeah. So it was always something different. This one, we might be able to do that in the future, just crimes about this or just crimes about that, but it's already hard enough to find.
I was gonna say, they're already you're pretty niched in. I mean, it's a good
some people don't have any, they just don't have a story to tell, and I'm like, that's okay, but I keep the theme kind of loose for that reason. It's just like anything crime related,
right.
Well,
I'm sure. Have you run into people being like, I don't want to tell this story because there's illegal implications?
I have people that just don't want the footage out.
It could be a sensitive thing, for people,
and that's okay. But I think moving forward, if people are going to do the show, they know that, hey, we're going to be releasing this. And you have to just trust me that I'm not going to do anything to like make you look bad.
You're not going to do any forms or release forms?
No, if that's the next phase of I'm learning all this stuff on the fly too, man. Like the special and tour dates and stuff like that. It's like, I've never done this before. So I'm kind of figuring it all out as I go. But what I want to do is when we record the shows at Dude, I want to release every comic set as an episode like This Is Not Happening. So that way, if we have 4 comics on every month, that's an episode a week coming out.
Like its own little YouTube clip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Where like each comic set winds up being anywhere between like 15 and 20 minutes. Basically always lands in that buffer. 7-minute story and then around 7 minutes combined between the questions and the text message portion. So instead of releasing the whole show like we did with the YouTube special, like if you came on, you would have your own episode. So we would have like an intro card and like an outro, and that would be yours, and it would live.
I don't do crime.
a good person. But you didn't even if you didn't do anything, maybe something happened to you.
Oh, right. Yeah. This was like, my mom did this. Or, yeah, there were a couple of things
exactly.
like that.
You went to high school with somebody that like you did something bad or whatever, That's what I'm saying. Like it's kind of
I would never
loose.
snitch.
Yeah, exactly. Some people do.
No, yeah, that's fine. Where'd the 7 minutes come up? Is that just a time frame that you thought was good, or was there some trial and error in that as well?
I started with 10 and it was too much.
Yeah.
And I didn't think 5 was enough.
Yeah.
I was like 7.
7, magic
7
number.
seems to be the number.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you make it pretty clear to people that this isn't stand-up where you have to have laughs every 30 seconds or whatever. It's a story. Tell your story.
I did notice that. I was like, this is not the pace of a stand-up set.
Yeah. Sometimes they wind up being that,
No, I mean, let's see.
It just happens. And for some people, they've never even told that story before. So it's their first time getting to tell a 7-minute story in front of an audience that's there to laugh, where they might not have had that opportunity before.
Yeah.
7 minutes is a long, like that eats up a big chunk of somebody's set potentially just to figure out where the beats are.
Yeah. It's hard to practice that at an open mic sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
So now they, could listen back to it, trim the fat, whatever. And there's a bunch of people that like now use the stories that they told like as part of their stand up.
Yeah. So what's great about doing a show like this is, it kind of forces you to do the homework in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But again, like I think because just setting it up as a storytelling show and because it's true crime, there's no expectation of the whole thing being like really funny. Sometimes they're not funny at all, and that's okay. Like it's just it's your story. People are interested in hearing it.
Yeah.
We'll work on the funny part after with the questions and stuff.
Yeah. So you said you started in Houston. You're doing it at IDK. How'd you start getting a comment? What was the process of doing that? Did you have to like petition Wendy or like you just email Wendy a bunch?
I think it was just being a pest, really.
Because you're passed at the club.
Yeah.
Or, okay. Yeah. Which means that you can do sets there for free.
Yes, exactly.
You can open, you can do things like that.
Yeah, I have the honor of working for free on the weekends until if and when I get promoted to pro or whatever.
Yeah, so pro isn't past isn't equal pro.
No, there's there's Almost Famous, which is the list that I'm on.
You're on.
Yeah, and then there's the pro list, which is essentially, it's the same thing, but the pros get paid. And I think pros get the opportunity to feature, and I don't think anybody on Almost Famous gets to feature. You're just doing host spots and guest spots or whatever. But it was, so I'd started the show with Nick at Bandit Oak, because that's the place I run the stand-up show at.
You can bring the mic to you if you want to. I mean, because I think it looks cool.
Okay.
I like the arm up, whatever you want.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, just tell me, give me direction. I'm a great actor. Anyway, so we stared the show at Bandit Oak.
I did see you in a commercial.
I know. Yeah. Every once in a while, I get something. We can talk about commercial stuff in a second.
You know Royce Rosewood? I saw him in a commercial as well. He was in a Denver mattress commercial.
Jeff Tice gets some stuff too.
Yeah,
and BK and Michael Isaacs.
I saw Sammy Anzer in that same commercial. Yeah. I've only done one, so.
Yeah, and commercial stuff, more than people realize, is just you fitting the bill for whatever they envisioned.
So you look like somebody who would buy a mattress.
Exactly. Yeah. And people, especially, because I've never acted I never acted before I started doing that stuff. It was just, you get an agent, they send you auditions.
Big Fish?
No, I'm with Block.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's way more of like, do you just fit the description of the person they're looking for than your acting chops?
Yeah, at this stage.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Did you take any classes at the DCPA or anything?
No, I kind of want to though, because it seems like it kind of seems like the thing that the money is just too big to ignore. So you might as well try to get better at it.
Yeah.
You can I made more money doing a GMC commercial that shot for one day than I made in like half a year of comedy.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great.
But that doesn't come up all the time.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if it did.
Yeah.
So with Interrogation, we started it at Bandit Oak just because it was easy. It's like I already have a relationship with those guys.
Yeah. You do a monthly there?
Yep.
I showed up one time. You weren't hosting, so that's fine.
Yeah. You were like, oh, this has just got better.
Austin Black was there. Fine.
Yeah. I have a few people fill in for me. I'm actually going to be passing the show off next month to a younger comic just because it.
Can we say who or?
Big Mike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. That'll be a different vibe.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was interested. He's a good young comic, and it just needs more attention than what I'm giving it right now. My focus has just solely been on Interrogation,
on GMC commercials.
Yeah, other stuff really.
No, I get it.
That's more beneficial.
You got to start, making choices at a certain point.
Well, I've been doing it for over 2 years now, and that's. I mean, I feel like most shows don't even last a year. So
that's true.
To even get to that mark, I feel pretty good about. And if it can go on with somebody else, great. He can give it a shot. And I think it's always important for younger comics to have
the
that
opportunity
experience.
to do that. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So started it there, and then Houston was the first time we did it anywhere else. And then I actually just toured with the show more than I did it in Denver. Because for one reason or another, I just could not get people to come to it. I think, most people we ever had there was like 30. But then when I would do it on the road, we would always get crowds.
You think Denver's just too saturated? I mean, there's so many shows going on a Thursday fucking night,
Yeah, and I think I've noticed that with other stand-up shows too.
Yeah, the Comedy Save the Video Store, it's so hard to get people to come out. It's so hard.
Yeah, I think that's happening with. We were definitely in a better place a year or two ago. I think everybody, at least with attendance. Now it seems like, especially on the weekends, between the two Comedy Works,
Improv, just
Underground,
bigger,
Lounge, Rise, like there's comedy clubs that are putting more money into marketing and quality shows.
Yeah, they're all great.
Than the indie shows are, right?
Yeah.
So I think I'm on a show tonight that we got a text from the producer yesterday. He's like, "Hey guys, we might have to cancel because ticket sales are low."
Yeah.
I had to cancel last month's Bandit Oak show because we had 2 tickets sold the day of. It's just the way it is right now. I'm not sure what the reason is, but it's happening. So kind of kept doing the show. Did it down in Houston again because I just have a fan base down there. And a friend that I went to college with, her husband came out to one, and he owns a production company in Houston that does like commercials and documentaries and stuff. And he loved it, and he's a comedy fan. He's like, "Hey man, we're looking to get into some other industries. If you have any interest, we'd love to tape this for you."
Yeah, oh shit.
We'd still have to charge you, but it would be substantially less.
We still have to charge you, but that's funny.
It would be substantially less than what we would normally charge a client. And for a 5-6 person camera crew, audio, and a light guy, all in, I paid like $7,000 for it.
Damn, that's not nothing, man.
It's not nothing.
No wonder you can't fix your teeth.
I know. Exactly. No, that's very true. That is very true.
No, dude, I'm sorry, but yeah, that's a good. It's a good deal.
Yeah, but as at that point that the show has kind of been building some momentum.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
But I get it.
Yeah, so you're like, okay, well, this isn't going to happen unless I do something.
Gamble on yourself, kind of thing.
I've always had that mentality of like, I have to make it happen because I'm not going to wait for somebody else to give me the chance. If that does happen, cool, great. But if not, then I'm gonna do everything that I can to try to make this a success.
Sure.
So then I'd pitched Wendy on doing it, I don't know, months ago, and she just never got back to me.
Email? Or are you talking to her?
Email.
Anytime you see her, you're just like, "Hey, Wendy, have a show."
I did.
Okay, you got to be like a guy sometimes.
Just not even kind of like, "Hey, did you see my email about the show?" And she's like, "Yeah, I just get busy, so send it again." Right? And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, you're getting a green light, kind of. She's saying send it again.
Yeah, and she says that. She does say that. She's just like, "It's not that I don't want to do something. Just nudge me. I don't mind being nudged. Just send me something." So they had started running this other show there called Tellin' Tall Tales that Ashley, the GM there, had started. And it's a fun show. I just thought it like lacked, again, like a storytelling show. It just kind of lacked direction. There wasn't a theme. I don't think
GM, not a comic, just a person.
Yeah. And she's amazing. And she did a great job running the show. And I think it will come back in some capacity. But she was like, if you have any ideas for how to improve this, I'd be open to it.
Cool.
But I was like, well, every tip that I'm going to give you is basically just my show.
Right.
So
was there like some where you're just like, "Hey, let me do my show," or like, how were you diplomatic about saying that? Like,
I offer,
I don't want to step on your toes,
yes.
but like, let me do my show.
Well, I offered help,
Sure,
I'm like,
okay,
hey, if you want me to kind of help you either like book this, or I can help film it and we can make clips. Like I can help promote it. Whatever you need to you think.
You just made yourself available.
Yeah, I mean, because she's awesome, and I know she's gonna give.
Yeah, I'm not trying to throw any shade.
No,
or
no,
anything.
I know that. Yeah, and it was kind of hard too, where like she knew that I wanted to do my show there too.
Yeah.
So it was really just kind of being supportive to her, and then just kind of waiting to see if like maybe the opportunity presented itself.
Sure.
That was really it. So then she had mentioned to me, "Hey, Wendy's going to reach out to you about doing the show."
Nice.
And then we had to do a back and forth on pay and marketing and tech, because we don't have a lot of tech requirements, but we have some.
That part would be the intimidating part to me, is the pay, like talking about pay stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've been applying for some new jobs, and like just talking about money to me is so hard.
I think it is for most people, and that's why people get lowballed.
Sure.
Because the company's going to do everything in its power to save money.
Yeah.
Right. And
so that wasn't hard for you? Like I feel like that's where I would drop the ball. Like I'd say something, or I wouldn't say it in a way that was like,
I think I was fortunate.
Or I'd overshoot.
I was fortunate that I was already in a pretty good position. So if I had, whatever I asked for, if she said no, and it wasn't going to work out, we were already running a successful show at Dude IDK. So we've been doing that for a few months. We sold out the first 2. We had good attendance on the third.
So you have a fan base. I mean, like,
right.
So is this like Interrogation fan base, or is IDK people who know things are going on at IDK? You think?
Both.
Okay.
It's a little bit of both, but Interrogation definitely has a fan base now.
No, it's cool. I mean,
No, and that's the thing. Hey, man, every time somebody shows up, I'm pleasantly surprised.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, there you go.
Like, I don't think of the show or myself as kind of like yeah, of course we do. I'm like, oh wow, people came, nice. It's always exciting, but we already had a good thing going, so I didn't really have anything to lose. The way I saw it was like Comedy Works would be good for credibility, it's good for visibility, that kind of thing. And if it works out, awesome. If not, then I'm just going to keep doing. I already have a plan. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to keep doing that. But we did the first one at the Comedy Works South this past Thursday. We had around 100 people show up.
That's a big one. Yeah, that's the big room.
She always makes people do the South Club first.
It's kind of like a gauntlet. It's like prove it here.
I think so.
Prove it here, and then
I think a little bit, yeah. Because like downtown, because I personally, I'm like, hey, downtown would be easier. Give something a chance to succeed without making it harder. But yeah, it's true. If you can make stuff work at the South Club, then you can make it work at the downtown club for sure. So to have 100 people show up on a Thursday during a Nuggets game for the first time we're doing it there, that felt really cool, man. Like. I was really proud of that. And I didn't know what the ticket sales were. I never like to know because I'm going to pull every lever anyway.
Make you feel bad, yeah.
So
if they're like, we only sold 2 tickets, I mean, that's like, just go out and do your show.
Yeah, and also it's like, I don't know what else to do. Like I've already done everything.
Yeah,
I sent.
You can't do anything at that point.
We did pay dads. I handed out probably 400 flyers. We've got posters up everywhere. I sent in press releases.
You're doing flyers. You think that's valuable to spend your time doing that at this point in our digital age?
It seems like it still kind of works.
All right, well there you go.
I think I need to be
the one
better
out there doing it, so
I think
huh?
I think I need to be a little bit more diligent about tracking it better. Like have different QR codes. I think.
Oh,
like to set up a different QR code for the flyers as opposed to the posters.
You're thinking.
But flyering to me is a lot of like, I'll just go deck out a parking garage, or I just waited until I went down to the club and would hand them out to people after they were coming out of a show. So there are already people that are going to Comedy Works anyway. And the staff was really cool about me putting them on tables before the show and whatever. And then other days, I just grab my skateboard and take like a half dab of acid and just like go cruise around neighborhoods and just drop them in people's mailboxes.
It is funny that you have this side of you, because I do think, I mean, you're like, your show, you look like a cop. I mean, you said you grew up Mormon, and you're just like, I'm doing acid and fucking.
Yeah, I mean, psychedelics have always been a pretty big part of my life, and I don't really smoke weed very much. Last time I did, I wound up puking. That's not a very like proud moment of mine.
What are you gonna do?
What's that? Yeah, it just happened. It felt bad. I didn't like it. But I think when I was raised, being raised Mormon, it was just the church that my parents picked. You didn't really have a lot of say in the matter.
So you think you're rebelling against that in a way?
I think I would have done it regardless of.
You would have found psychedelics, you mean?
Well, just rebelled,
Okay.
I think it was just kind of the crew I was hanging out with. I skated when I was a kid. I was into music, and I started smoking weed at a really early age just because everybody else was too. And um, that was just way more compelling to me than whatever I was learning in church, right? Which
Sure.
I'm sure
Oh,
for
yeah.
most kids
Yeah, yeah.
is, right? Yeah, I just never agreed with it. That's all. And I started, using psychedelics just for fun in like high school and college, and then started doing it more for like medicinal reasons, like as I got older. So I just, I think you can use it for all
It
different
didn't
kinds of
scare
things.
you?
No.
The religion stuff didn't scare you? Like, if I do this, I'm going to hell. Or
No, I
like,
never.
this is,
No,
you
I
never
never.
bought it.
No,
Damn, okay.
it just never got me.
Interesting.
I never understood it. Like it didn't make sense to me.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Were you raised
Dude, yeah,
religious?
I was raised Catholic, and I still got that in me, that guilt, that
Do you?
that shame. Yeah, it's all.
It was
I
really-
can't tell my wife I love her in front of our friends. No, I mean, just doing a wedding type thing.
Yeah,
I love her, and I'm very affectionate. Of
course,
but
yeah.
No, I just think it's that's interesting. Do you mind if I pee real quick, and then we can
No, I
pick
was
this
gonna
right
ask you
back
the
up?
same thing,
Oh,
yeah.
cool. Yeah. We're gonna take a little pee break. Okay, so you're saying the Mormon religion never really got into you?
yeah, but I think honestly, it just would have been any religion that I just didn't click with. Part of it was definitely you didn't see I didn't at the time. Obviously, harder to do when you're a kid. I didn't see the benefit. Hey, this is supposed to make you feel good. It only really ever made me mad.
Mm.
It was a lot of discipline and a lot of being told you're wrong and a lot of you have to think this way, otherwise you're fucked.
Yeah.
And that just didn't really suit me. I don't think I was really instilled with the positive benefits of religion. It was very much more of like a structured way to live. And I just always even from an early age, I just kind of hated being making people making me feel like I was stupid. So kind of like telling me I'm wrong or telling me like my feelings or opinions aren't valid. And when you're a kid, yeah, they probably aren't, right?
Sure.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
Or maybe they're the truest.
Yeah. I was definitely like probably more of an arrogant child. Like I didn't need to be like just a know-it-all kind
Makes sense that you came to comedy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you
Yeah, exactly.
how I feel,
about this
whatever.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which strangely enough, I love doing comedy, but I do not like being the center of attention.
Interesting.
Like I like performing. I think that's fun. But when people make conversations about me or a situation about me, I get very uncomfortable. Like just in like normal group
Like
settings.
a podcast?
Well, this is fun. Like this is just
It's
you and
performing
me.
in a way, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You and me are just talking.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's not like a group or something like that, kind of fluffing you up or fluffing.
I don't mind a fluff, but
Yeah.
I do think comics want attention, but on their own terms. I
Right.
mean, it's just another form of control.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, like I found my own kind of spirituality, religion, so to speak, as I got older.
Through acid?
Yeah, a
Is
little
it
bit.
acid
I mean,
your thing?
to a certain degree, yeah.
Ayahuasca?
I started doing more psychedelics and having profound experiences, but also I'd started doing yoga a lot to kind of fix an injury that I'd had. And then when I started doing that, I kind of didn't stop. So it's still like a regular practice of mine. And then when I started doing that, I started learning more about like the Hindu side of things, the Buddhist side of things, reading more about that kind of stuff and learning more about other world religions and just kind of taking the parts of it that I really enjoyed. And at least just started carving out my own kind of opinion or thoughts about how all this works or like what this all is, right?
So do you not see like the tenets of like the religion stuff at home, like, do unto others, or like were your parents not, I don't know, representing those, the good virtues as well? And you're just like, yeah, something's not matching up here.
They were. I mean, my parents are great people, but I think there was just a lot of anger in our household.
Sure.
Directed at us for not being obedient, right? So they got along great. They were good, wholesome people. I kind of always did the right thing, but I think there was just a lot of anger kind of pointed in our direction when we would screw up or do something.
Oh,
So
yeah, I get that.
instead of it being like a coachable, teachable moment, it was very much a like, you're bad, don't do this again because it's evil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was really it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when things are framed as like, this is evil.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Yeah, I think we just
Not like kids being kids.
I think they were just kind of trying to they were doing the best they could with the tools that they had available to them.
Sure. Yeah.
That was really
Yeah,
it.
everyone is, I guess.
Yeah, and it's easy for me to say I don't have any kids, but
Right, yeah.
I would have preferred more conversations because we would get in just as much trouble if we got caught lying as we would if we told the truth.
Yeah. So there's no incentive.
There was literally no incentive, to be
Yeah, yeah,
honest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rough one.
Yeah. People that people that grow up in like pretty devout religions become very good liars. You figure out ways to just avoid conflict and get out of trouble.
Yeah. Great point.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just talking to Jacob Erdman on a couple episodes ago, and he was saying that he really likes Houston comedy. He thinks like Houston comedy is at a place now where Denver was like 10 years ago.
Okay.
Do you feel any of that, or?
Well, I wasn't
do you
here
not
10 years
know?
ago, so
Oh,
I
okay.
can't necessarily, talk.
But do you
speak to
feel
that.
like Houston has like a burgeoning scene?
Yeah, I think Houston's really cool. There's a lot of good comics down there. There's a lot of comics down there, and they have 3 clubs, and I think they're getting a 4th.
Oh shit!
There's indie shows basically every night of the week, and I think it's a pretty good, like, healthy scene. All in, I mean, there's always going to be problems and people and whatever, but I like going down there. Houston itself isn't that great of a city. I often say I go to certain places like Omaha and Kansas City as well, where it's like, the cities themselves aren't amazing, but I like the people there. And the friends that you have in any particular place can kind of help make a city or a destination like better, right? So the crowds are good, comics are good, they're pretty welcoming people, and you can get on a lot of stuff when you're down there. So that helps.
Interesting. Yeah. Because everything's been Austin, but on the
Yeah.
last couple pods, people have brought up Houston, so I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think there's just a vacuum there right now too, because everybody's going to
I
Austin.
think it'd be hard to grow up in the shadow, or like to do things in the shadow of a neighboring city that has so much
Yeah.
attention right now.
And it's so crazy how that happened almost like overnight, right? Like
The Austin thing?
Yeah, the Austin thing. It got
yeah.
so big so fast.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are moving there.
I know.
A lot of big stars.
Well, that's why I've said that I think LA, if you're going to move, I think LA would actually be a pretty good place to move right now, because
now.
I think there was a huge mass exodus from LA to Austin, and I think there's still going to be a ton of comics and a ton of competition there, but it seems like now would be the time more than ever to try to get over there and like make your mark. A couple people have done it recently. Like Alec Flynn moved there recently. BK Sherrod moved there recently. I know like 1 or 2 other people.
To LA?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's opportunities there. There's industry, and like New York is just so flooded. Like it always has been and always will be. I don't know. Moving to like New York just doesn't seem interesting to me.
Yeah, everything I've heard is like you go, all the comedy podcasts I've listened to are like you go to New York to get good and you go to LA to get famous. So
Oh, really?
I think we know what their priorities are.
Yeah. I grew up in upstate New York, and I've been going to the city since I was a kid. And I think the city's fun and it's
Okay,
cool. I just, man,
once.
it's just not me. If I wasn't even doing comedy, I wouldn't even be living in a city. I would want to live like in the mountains somewhere.
Okay. You'd just be doing acid in the mountains?
Yeah, probably mountain biking, snowboarding, and doing some drugs.
Mountain biking.
And I hate to be one of those guys, but I like when I do psychedelics now, I microdose way more than I do big trips.
What are you looking for when you're doing this?
It's honestly just it kind of works like an anti-anxiety med.
I was gonna say, yeah, you mentioned stuff about OCD and lists earlier. So
Yeah, I used to have pretty big bouts of depression, and it would last for varying periods of time and get pretty deep. And when I started doing, I will never say that this was like some kind of cure-all. It was combined with a few different things. It was taking care of my health, kind of going to therapy, and coupled with the microdosing stuff. It just kind of helps relieve my depression and anxiety, makes me feel better. Kind of works like a stimulant in a way where your energy levels are just higher. I'm a little more focused. And I don't know, it just works for me. Everybody has to kind of figure out their own schedule.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like dosage and frequency and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I like to take, I'll take a couple of hits of acid and then put them in a vial.
Couple hits of acid or like
tabs.
Okay.
And then you put that in a vial with a distilled liquid. And then it evenly disperses in the liquid. So that way you're just taking a dropper. You're not taking like a full hit or anything. So if you take like half a dropper, you know that if it's spread evenly, which it will, you're only taking a small fraction of what's in the bottle. And I do that every couple of days.
When did you go to science school?
When did dude, I was a communication major in college, and this had nothing to do with that. That's for sure.
How'd you figure all this stuff out? Someone showed you, or
Podcasts,
you
reading
just watch-
books.
Okay,
like
podcasts.
Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind, is really good because they go in a lot deeper on a lot of the clinical research that has been done at like Johns Hopkins and a few other institutions, as they're trying to get things like MDMA and ketamine and psychedelics kind of more in the rotation for therapeutic use.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of learning from that, and then a little bit of trial by fire.
I was gonna say you're your own guinea pig at that point.
Oh, there are definitely times where you're like, "Oh, that was pretty high. That was more than what I had
doesn't
anticipated."
scare you. It's just like
No.
just not being in control. I mean, I've never done it, but like, just the drugs I have done, I don't like that not being in control thing. So
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you think is going to happen when you're out of control. Honestly, I mean, because like
being out of control is like not good.
Yeah, but do you think
me.
like your body's just going to start flailing around or something, or that you're going to go walk into the street?
No, I guess it'd be like more like destroying interpersonal relationships or something, or like me getting angry. Because I do have a lot of anger as well. A lot of stuff from childhood, a lot of things with my parents, stuff like that. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if it's like I got to keep a lid on it, or I'm just worried of, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to lose control.
Yeah. Okay. So because
I got demons.
Yeah, but I guess you're in therapy, right?
I was. I haven't been going for a couple years now, but I had gone for like 10 years.
Yeah, and you uncover some stuff when you're in there.
I do couples therapy. My wife and I do couples therapy.
Yeah,
so
it's good for you.
Some stuff there.
But you wind up, it's only useful if you're talking about the things that are kind of holding you back, right? Like personally, even if you're not communicating those things with others, it's the angst that comes out, or the anger, the fear that comes from not tackling whatever the issue is with you, or the issue with your partner, or something. You're just kind of bottling it up, right? So the with the like psychedelic stuff, I've gone on some pretty big acid trips, and I always just try to remember, like, it's just the drug. It's just the drug. This isn't you. It's just part of what's happening. And I know that typically these things work in kind of waves, where you'll peak a little bit and then you'll come down, and the down feeling can be kind of uncomfortable. But then you're like, hey, I just got to breathe through this, and it's going to come back up in like 10 minutes. As opposed to if you kind of just sit at that bottom point and cling on to it and kind of fixate on it, you're going to stay there. So kind of like a regular practice for life as well, where it's like breathing exercises, yoga. It's just like, just breathe through it. This is just a feeling that's going to pass, and you're going to get out of it.
Yeah, it's funny. You've done it so much. You're just like, I know what to expect. I know how to handle it.
Yeah,
I've definitely not done enough to like be able to.
Yeah, because most of the time, because for the most part, it's fun. Like, that's the thing.
I don't want to get to that. I mean, I guess I'm not willing to go through the pain period to get to that point where I'm like, I know the waves and I can ride it.
And sometimes you don't go through a pain period. Sometimes it literally is just fun the whole time.
Okay.
It's music sounds better, colors are more vibrant, breeze feels better for some reason. Those clouds look real. That's always my litmus test to find out if I'm tripping yet or not. I look at the clouds, and if I have the thought of, hey, those clouds look cool, it means I'm starting to trip a little. Yeah, it's sometimes you have negative feelings, but typically it depends on if you're going through, like, if you're doing it for a therapy session or like therapeutic use, or if you can't, even just recreationally. If it's for therapeutic use and you're kind of just by yourself, sometimes I'll just be at the park, or I'll just be at my apartment and listen to music and stuff. Then you kind of dwell on it, maybe consider where that feeling's coming from. And then other times, if you're just doing it for recreational use and you have a down moment, like, you just ride it out, instead of trapping.
Just ride it out.
Seriously, though, because I mean, that's just like regular life. If you start having a negative feeling about something,
just like my skateboard, bro.
Just keep going
down this hill.
Yeah, man. Just do a kickflip. You'll feel better. Or at least try to do a kickflip.
You hippies.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, not all of it. I don't feel like, again, it's this cure-all for everybody, or that it's a dialed-in kind of science. But I think it just makes you more aware about, like, being in the present, just life lessons, being in the present, understanding that your thoughts aren't you, and they don't make up your identity, who you are. And if something is triggering an emotion or a response from you, maybe spend some time considering why that's happening. And think about what could I do differently in this situation to have resolved this conflict or to mitigate these feelings, or just make them so they're not as intense.
But I've been pushing against this idea of your thoughts and whatever aren't you, like you're the observer or whatever, this whole like Eckhart Tolle thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, if your thoughts aren't you, then what does it matter? Like, why work through this thing if it doesn't, it's not you. So why work through this negative emotion?
Well, I think the only reason being that if the negative emotion actually affects you and
then it is you,
makes you feel worse.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm butting up with that, but that's probably my ego.
No, I mean, maybe not. Again, to your point, I did not go to Johns Hopkins. I did not study this, and I don't claim to be an expert on it. I just know what works for me, and I just know I've had trouble in the past with letting thoughts and emotions kind of take over my life. And,
sure, with the depression stuff, I can.
Yeah, and I didn't want that. I don't want that to happen, and I know it's going to happen, and that's another part of life, right? It's like you can't. This isn't going to prevent you from having these feelings ever. It's just, it's kind of just cutting it off at the pass and saying like, hey, you're not going to run the next week for me.
Sure.
Like we're gonna kind of confront this or do the things I need to do now to mitigate these feelings.
Self-care and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Yeah, that preemptive self-care is super important. I wasn't trying to belittle it.
You can shit on it if you want,
no,
man.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to. I was just like, I mean, I guess I'm like, if I'm depressed, I think the drugs are only going to exacerbate that. So like that's like something I'd be scared of. Like that's a fear that would make me not do the drug.
And sometimes they do, man. Like sometimes if I'm already in a funk and I do some mushrooms or something, it kind of makes it worse. It does. And then I'm like, hey, maybe this wasn't a great idea. I wasn't in the right headspace to do this.
That's just life, huh?
Well, that's just honestly just kind of like, I think being more aware in the moment.
People do that with drinking, any kind of a drug, I think, or escape you might be looking for. I'll eat a lot sometimes. Sometimes it makes me feel better. Sometimes it's like, that was not good. Shouldn't have eaten 3 pints.
Right. Although I do love a pint of ice cream when I'm sad.
Yeah, 1 pint's good.
Yeah.
3 pints, maybe not.
Dig back into the freezer for some Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Go-to flavor.
I haven't had anything
like
in a while.
A fucking Cherry Garcia guy. That's who it's you, bro.
That was mine in college. Like my go-to.
I do like the bits
was...
of cherries. I don't like the chocolate.
Yeah, it's fair. I was gonna, the low fat or non-sugar version of Cherry Garcia was better to me for some reason.
Interesting.
When I
didn't know they had a sugar-free,
I think
low-fat one.
Yeah, it's one of those.
They have the non-dairy. I've never seen a low-sugar one.
Well, if we do ice cream now, I always go to Sweet Cow or
Sweet Cow.
Little Man and get
Little
a pint.
Man's the best. I got 3
it's
pints
great,
from last night, dude.
Yeah, and you're pretty close over here.
Yeah. I used to work over there at this one.
At the factory store?
Yep.
I've always thought that would be a funny place to do a comedy show because they have that stage there.
Yeah.
I was
like, they do like swing dance and shit. They wouldn't. I mean, they're family oriented, so they wouldn't. My comedy wouldn't work there.
Yeah. But there's I think it's called it's like Space Junk or something
Space
like
Junk?
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got a pint of that in the fridge.
Yeah, that's
right
like
now.
So when you ask like what my go-to pint is, I think that's the one.
Raspberry flavor, marshmallow swirl. Dude, I'm all about the marshmallow fluff and stuff these days. And then brownie bits.
Yeah, there's one Stewart's.
I may have made a batch that you've eaten.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude.
There's a little bit of.
I mean,
a little Lopez in here.
It might be. Dude, you scoop that shit by hand. You mix it all by hand. That's what made me quit, dude. It's fucking hard.
Yeah, it's like actually taxing labor.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you fucking try put mixing brownie bits into the fucking ice cream in a 3-gallon.
Oh, I believe it's hard,
dude. It's fucking hard.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
There's a child with a smile on his face licking an ice cream cone, just looking at his mom. Be like, Mom, why is that man crying in the back?
More like, Mom, why was this $10?
This batch is going to be a little saltier because it's made with tears.
Yeah.
There's so Stewart's is kind of a regional gas station in the Northeast, like upstate New York and like Massachusetts and stuff. They make their own ice cream.
Okay.
And they do one every summer. It's like campfire or bonfire or something like that. But it's kind of like we were talking about. It has the marshmallow, graham cracker. It's everything you would put into for like s'mores ice cream, basically, with some chocolate chunks too. And it's like graham cracker flavored ice cream.
But Ben and Jerry's just has like a peanut butter s'mores flavor that came out recently.
Yeah, pretty dope.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, but I try to be. I'm a dick about my eating habits sometimes, and
I mean, you're a fit guy, so I don't see you doing a lot. Is that most of it's just like natural, right? You're just a lean naturally.
No,
No?
I exercise a lot, mostly
Part of that
because
OCD thing, huh?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, it is definitely that. I exercise. I try to exercise like a lot every week, and then I had noticed. I was doing a show a couple months ago, and I took my shirt off for it, Kreischer style.
Of course you would.
Somebody was telling a story about how white guys always take their clothes off when they do drugs. So it was an interrogation, and I was like, "Oh, that's a funny cue." So I just took my shirt off, and I kept my suspenders and tie on, just because I thought that'd be funny. And they were taking pictures of the show, and I saw myself with my shirt off, and I was like, "Oh, I don't like that a lot." So and I knew this Hawaii trip was coming up,
Okay.
so I was trying to be a little more diligent about like my eating habits and stuff. But I had McDonald's last night, you know.
Well, yeah. Maui trips over, baby.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and we ate so much good food. That's the thing too. Is like when Sarah and I travel, we love doing food tours.
Sarah's your partner.
Yes.
Okay.
I just always I feel like I start to say her name too early sometimes, or without saying my partner first, because I get tired of saying my partner.
Okay.
So I just say Sarah and just have somebody be like, "That's your partner." I'm like, "Yep, okay." So we're moving on.
Got it.
So Sarah and I, even in Denver, or when we travel, we put together food tours. We're like, okay, what are the highlight reel food items to eat in the city? And then we just make like a tactical plan to figure out like when we want to eat those and like what's the most efficient route.
plan.
Yeah, man.
You're making a list.
We map
You're
it
making
out.
a list.
We sit down at the table, have a glass of wine,
Wow,
and we're
okay.
like, okay, what's the most efficient way to get to all these places? Because you don't want to maybe go to the hot dog joint and the like Italian beef place that you wanted to go to was like 3 blocks away, but you didn't look it up ahead of time, so you're going there the next day, right? So just like the maximum use of time.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
That is some OCD stuff right there.
I guess I'm not super OCD in like that regard. Like I don't need things to be a particular way.
It kind of sounded like it from that last description.
I guess, but I mean, you should see my apartment. It's like I'm not the kind of like, hey, if this coaster's out of place, like I need to move it like that or anything.
I think just the fact that I have coasters makes me pretty OCD.
Why? Because you care about your things?
Yeah, I mean, I made that table.
That's one of those where like OCD is getting thrown around so much these
Yeah,
days.
maybe
It's like,
that's
oh,
true.
you take care of your stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I have a clinical condition.
Yeah, you're obsessive. So yeah, I mean, when the other problem, quote unquote, is that Sarah's like such a good cook that and that's like her creativity is she loves like cooking new dishes and things. So I do try to I embellish when I want to, and then I try to be good about just like balancing it all out, you know. So whether that's with exercise or just eating super lean for like a week or two or whatever, just kind of keep it even.
How long have you been with your partner?
We've been together about 1.5 years, and we moved in together 2 months ago.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah.
big step, big step.
Yeah, it's cool. I've never lived with a partner before officially. I've always kind of haphazardly moved in halfway with other people.
Halfway.
Well, just because they had nicer places than I did. And if you're either spending time at your place or my place, like, you know, previous example, it'd be like they have dogs and they have like a nice place, right? So coming over to my apartment just really isn't in the cards unless they want to bring the dogs over there and stuff. And on top of that, you know, we're out so late all the time that she's been home for 4 hours and then I'm getting home at 11 o'clock. She's like, well, do you want me to come over to your place? I'm like, no, I'm not going to make you leave your apartment so you can come hang out on my couch, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, we're just going to be hanging out, like watching TV or whatever anyway. So I'd been kind of like unofficially moved in there for a few months and then made it like official, like got off my lease at my previous place and paid her rent for the first time like 2 months ago. And yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I think one of the reasons, you know, you've been around the scene for a little while, and you know, I've just kind of kept you at arm's distance because we were at the Trinidad Festival a couple of years ago, and I think I just ran into you on the street or something, and you're just like carrying around a backpack, you know, fucking tank top on, and you're like, I got a bunch of drugs in my backpack. You want some? I'm on a bunch of drugs right now, and I was just like, that guy is going too hard for me. And me, like, you know, I know people have like issues with drugs. So it's not like, you know, it's not just like I do acid and fucking skateboard. It's like, you know, they get into some darker stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm just like, you know, my first reaction is like, all right, just like don't even, you know, interact with this guy.
Sure.
Or, you know, just don't fuck with this dude.
I get it. Yeah.
You know, So sorry, I guess, about that.
No, it's okay. I know this about me is that sometimes I can come on really strong. I think it's because it's a double-edged sword because I've been in situations where people were very grateful that I was very approachable and just kind of treated them like a friend from the jump. And I know for some people that that just comes across as disingenuous.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my first reaction is like, well, when anybody's like too happy, too like, hey, like all finger guns and smiles, I don't know, like Sammy Anser, still don't trust him. I think there's a dark side to that guy that we don't know about.
We don't even think he's from Queens.
Yeah, where are the bodies, Sammy? All right. And the same thing I was with you. I was like, there's some body somewhere. There's some skeletons in that closet.
Yeah. And I do know that about myself. And I try to be more mindful about that, especially these days. It just, I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. And your first impression or first thought anyway is like, being friendly shouldn't make anybody uncomfortable, right? But it can sometimes. Yeah. And also if I'm high energy and whatever, and particularly with that festival, like that was such an interesting weekend because that was the first like big thing we all got to do right after lockdown.
Yeah, post-COVID.
Really the first time all of us got to be able to like hang out together, party together.
Yeah, and there's like a lot of drugs going around that year particularly.
Yeah, it kind of just felt like a coming out party for everybody because we'd all been like, we haven't been able to do shows. We haven't been able to hang out in a group. And this was kind of the first time like we were able to do that. So I know I went pretty hard that weekend, and I've got like a cooler backpack that I just like loaded up with beers, and I brought some Molly and I brought some mushrooms, and because my thing is like drugs are free, nobody should pay for them. Because I've gotten a lot of free drugs in my life, so if this is just my turn to buy them and then give them like.
That's all triggering to me. I'm like, this guy's trying to hook you in. That's the first one's always free. That's how they get you. Like
people are like, because when I do festivals and stuff, I'm usually that dude. I'll have like a fanny pack or a backpack or whatever, and just kind of. But just to like, they're like, oh, how much is it? I'm like, nothing. You don't got to pay me nothing. Like I got it.
Time.
Yeah, yeah, right. But
Gets
yeah, I've never sold drugs. I've only bought.
I only give them away, officer.
Yeah, seriously. I know that's still gonna put me in jail, but
yeah, they're like that's not.
But yeah, I always had I had great friend groups growing up that, somebody else would buy the weed this week, or somebody else had mushrooms, or I worked for a brewery for a long time and a couple of my other friends did too. So like we always just got free beer. So like there was no reason for anybody to pay for it. It's like, why am I going to I'm not going to hoard this for myself. It's like if we're going disc golfing or we're going camping or something, like, yeah, we'd bring a 12 pack and a cooler and stuff just to give out to people. Just trying to always be the positive giving energy, because I think that's what my mom always was. Maybe not as much with the Molly, but she's just so generous, and she never wanted people to do without. She always wanted people to feel like they were a part of the group until they and then she would eventually ask if they would come to church. But
see, that's how they get you.
That is, yeah. You don't have to worry about that so much with me. I also haven't been to church in a really long time. I'm not trying to recruit anybody. I never went on a mission.
Playing the long game.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Midsummer.
Yeah.
We've been friends for years.
Eventually, your show's just gonna be church.
Yeah. Yeah. So I get, but again, I understand your perspective as well, and it's not always a personality. Yeah, sometimes not a personality match like right out of the gate, and a lot of that's on me. A lot of that's on me for like coming across like too much. Yeah,
and not me.
Yeah, of course. Well, I don't know, man. I
just like Jesus taking on my sins.
Yeah, exactly. just like you can. Well, it kind of goes back to the thing I said before, where it's like if there's a problem, I try to think about it in a way that's like, what could I have done differently instead of pointing a finger of blame. Sometimes it's very obvious where you're like, well, I didn't really do anything wrong. The other person kind of fucked up, or they were a dick or whatever. It's like, okay, but maybe I still could have approached this situation a little different in some way, capacity, right?
Right, sure.
Yeah. I mean, and you were an asshole, but.
Well, I was going to say, it's like, wow. I didn't think he was thinking about me this much. Well, I thought you were trying to fucking get me hooked on drugs and set my life down the toilet. So what else was I supposed to do?
Just trying to get you hooked on a good time.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to protect myself out here. So
yeah,
I'm glad we're, able to work through it. Do you feel better about us now?
Oh yeah, man. I think you're a good comic. I think you're a great guy.
Well, yeah, thank you.
I know we haven't had a chance to like talk a lot. But because I mean, it's interesting how
I'm just like, this guy's on drugs. It's not even a real conversation then. You know,
sure.
like, he's just like, he's not even here.
I stay pretty lucid when I'm.
Are you on acid right now?
Not today.
Okay, good.
Not right now.
I'd be half insulted.
Maybe later.
I mean, I guess the part of me is it's like, it's not real then. We're not having a real interaction if you're not
I
fully
suppose,
present.
but then would you feel the same way about somebody that just had a beer?
If they had a couple beers, yes.
Okay.
I guess maybe one beer, no.
Yeah. But as soon as their reality starts to augment in any way.
Yeah, if I guess I thought they were yeah, I guess there's a line there. At a certain point you cross a line and then I'd be like, of intoxication.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, okay, this isn't the.
Oh yeah, we've all had that.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I guess, yeah. So I don't know where the line would be.
It's like when you showed up to, like, if you show up to a bar too late and then you realize everybody there's just wasted, you're like, oh, I'm not having a meaningful conversation with anybody.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, there's a line there. I don't know exactly where. I don't know. It's an interesting.
Right. And I think that's partially because, like, if you haven't had that direct experience yourself, then it's hard to know how that other person's feeling. Right?
I guess I'm only judging by me. When I get too drunk, then I know I'm not there.
Yeah.
So I guess I just assume that that's how everybody's.
Yeah, and to your point, I think it definitely depends on the level of intoxication for sure. There are times where I've been like so high that I can't talk to anybody. I don't really want to. I'm pretty fucked up at this point. Like, I don't want to talk to
I guess that'd
anybody.
be funny. Like, Korey's been pretty quiet. I guess he's fucked up.
Dude, if I'm
he must
high,
be fucked up.
That's one of the reasons I also don't like smoking weed, because it makes me super antisocial. And
I get paranoid.
Yeah, I get paranoid. I stop wanting
Then you just
to
gotta
talk.
ride that wave, breathe, and a couple minutes later you'll feel better, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's an example of, like, that one doesn't work for me.
Okay.
You know, and it's funny, like, some people can smoke and that's just kind of part of their routine. Like, they do it when they go out, they do it when they go on stage and whatever. They just it doesn't bother them. Like, it doesn't faze them. And definitely there's times where you're probably like too high and you're like, this was a mistake.
Right.
But yeah, that's like. That's the thing. So when I am having anxiety because I smoked weed, I do have to tell myself, like, all right, dude, you just got to ride this out. You made a mistake and you're going to be high. You made a mistake and you're going to be high for the next 2 hours and it's going to go away. But for right now, you just got to kind of deal with it. Maybe play some video games, get your mind off of it.
Yeah. So, well, you thought I was an asshole, huh?
That's no, I didn't think you were an asshole. No. I just like everybody's.
I have to put on this "don't fuck with me" face.
Yeah, do you feel like you have to do that?
I feel like I gotta protect. That's how I am being preemptive and like defending my.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess.
Do you feel like you're protecting yourself by like doing that?
Thing, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, because you just you're like wary of other people.
I'm wary of everybody. I'm like, they want something, they're trying to fuck me over.
See,
maybe not every time. Every time now I've dismantled that a little bit, but when I was younger, there was there was a time.
Well, you probably had reasons for it.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just
like, that's the thing. It's like
people are trying to fuck with you. That's my reason.
It comes from somewhere, right? It doesn't mean it's not valid. It just means it came from someplace.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great example of like our personalities just right out of the gate, like weren't gonna mix well. It kind of takes like feeling each other out a little bit to like actually like have a conversation, get to know the person, like understand your personality differences, and have like my favorite friendships that I have are people that most people would consider them introverts, and they're just kind of quiet, maybe standoffish people. So those are the friendships that I value the most in my life, because like, oh, you're not comfortable like talking to everybody, but you're really comfortable talking to me, and that means a lot to me. Because like they're kind of guarded or just not as outspoken or anything. Like I love those kinds of hangs, right? Because they're the types of people that go from being introverts, and then when you're hanging out with them, you would have never thought of them that way.
Yeah, I prefer like a one-on-one hang than groups.
Yeah,
groups aren't my jam.
Depends on the size of the group. I definitely think once it gets to a certain scale, it's kind of like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, for sure.
There's no actual conversations happening. Just all yips and highlight reel stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we had a Christmas party here at the house around Christmas this year, and it was great, but it's also like you're not really interacting with anybody. It's just like a bunch of little micro interactions. It's not like you're not really getting in deep on anything, And these are like all of my best friends that I love and like would totally have a deep conversation with. Just like I was in host mode, Which I do like having the party, but also I do feel like I'm missing out on that, like,
Well,
like this kind of interaction.
yeah, I guess it depends on if you're doing that all the time, because it does serve like another need. You know, be
Yeah,
a
the
part
party
of, like,
thing once a
big
year, once or
group.
twice a year. Yeah, it's one thing, but
Yeah, if you're doing it all the time, then
Yeah.
I can understand how.
it's like hosting a show versus being just on a show.
Yeah, very different mentality for sure.
Yeah.
But I think there was a time where I'd sensed that, you know, there wasn't, there was not a rift between us, but you just didn't seem very interested in talking to me or whatever.
Maybe I'd heard you're kind of a fuck boy too, and I was just like,
yeah.
all right, this guy's doing his own thing. Maybe a little jelly, but also, you know,
Okay, that's fair.
like he's gonna learn his lesson.
Yeah.
You know?
There was a time at Comedy Works where I just I'd asked, you know, pulled you to the side and I was just like, hey man, I feel like there's kind of a rift between us. And I just wanted to say, I'm sorry if there was something that like I did to make you, you know, upset or make you uncomfortable. And I think you either said no or you said something about like the drug thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And I, if I remember correctly, I was very much like, oh, I'm sorry, dude. Like, apologize for that. And
like, I'm sorry, dude. I'm just cool.
No, come on.
I'm just chill, bro. No,
I have things that I like about me, and there's
No, I
definitely
think
stuff
that's
that I like don't.
No,
you
no,
know what
I mean,
like, that's it.
No, yeah, and that was the first time anybody's done that, which I respect is like being like, okay, this guy's like not a pushover or something or like whatever.
Well, there's also like, you know, just because I do that doesn't mean somebody owes me like an explanation either, and I have to be okay with that.
It did make me like you more, so there's something there, you know. It's just another
good.
way of him manipulating me.
I suppose. Yeah, I've just I want to, if there is a problem, I would like to try to resolve it. And it's also an opportunity, whether anybody wants to believe this or not. I'm always trying to figure out ways to improve and ways to be better. And it doesn't mean we have to be best friends or hang out a lot or whatever. But again, it's just like, hey, if I'm fucking up here, I want to know why. Like,
well, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very curious about your own stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I've always been like a pretty curious person
that's
about learning how to improve, and that was like, you know, coupled with like the yoga and the therapy and all this other stuff. It was
get it. You do yoga, okay?
I love it, man.
Bikrams, what is it? Hot yoga?
Yeah, actually, I do go to a hot studio.
I do like hot yoga.
It's nice, like especially in the winter on like a cold night. Go to like a hot studio and get a sweat. Like it feels pretty. You feel pretty great afterwards. But you did touch on like the fuckboy thing that I don't mind addressing. So it's like, when I am in a relationship, I couldn't be more committed to that relationship, and I give like everything I have to it. And then when I'm not in a relationship, I sleep with people that want to sleep with me. That's kind of it.
And I imagine plenty of people want to sleep with you.
It depends on the time. But yeah, I've always found sex to be very fun and like recreational, and it can mean different things at different times for everybody.
You don't have to have like a deep emotional connection with this person to get an erection.
No.
Damn.
But
what a gift.
but it does feel different. You know what I mean? Like it does. It does.
No. Just you your eyes and you blink. You're just like.
But I think when you're in a relationship and when you like have sex with that person, like it means way more than frivolous.
You mean you come harder?
Yeah,
no, I'm sorry.
Powerful. No. Buckets worth. But no, just I appreciate it both ways. Okay. You know.
Yeah.
And I will also be the first to admit that I have used sex in the past for like therapeutic purposes, where it like
a lot of therapeutic things going on.
But that was not healthy. Sure, like that wasn't a good way to go about it. Like I was doing it sometimes to make myself feel better.
You looking for validation?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something I always. It's like if I have a girlfriend, if women find me attractive, then I will be worthy.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that was something I was constantly seeking my whole life.
Yeah. And I think it was a little bit of conditioning from like high school and college where I think guys were perceived to be cooler or better.
Yeah, a ladies' man. Who doesn't want to be a ladies' man when they're young? You
right.
know?
And I definitely got wrapped up in that like at one point in time, like when I was in college in particular. And it definitely carried, into my early 20s a bit. And it was bad. It was bad in the sense that like, I'm 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we're same age.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice. November?
January.
All right. I got a lot of Scorpio energy. But I was using it to kind of feed my ego. Again, nothing bad happened or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was everything was always consensual and like fun. But then I would feel worse afterwards. Like not immediately, but like in the days following. I don't know. Just like I felt like I kind of had to just kind of keep trying to prove to myself that I was cool or a good, like not good person, but just I was somebody,
Yeah,
and this was
I get what you're saying.
and this was part of it.
It's totally hidden.
But then, kind of self-corrected that over time, and then still just like love being in relationships, love having a girlfriend. And then in between those times, like I just want to have fun also. And I do find it to be an enjoyable, fun activity.
Sure. Yeah.
And I've kind of always operated that way.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, part of me wishes I could do that. Not right now. Right now, I'm very happily married. But I mean, when I was younger, I definitely had to have an emotional connection. Like if I didn't, there were a couple times that, I found myself in these weird sexual situations and I just couldn't get it up.
Yeah.
And then that sent me into these self-shame spirals.
Yeah, you'd feel like, what's wrong with me?
Yes, exactly. And it's like, yeah, of course not. The girl I really wanted to be with was in the other bed with my friend, and I was like with her friend.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't like, it just wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got in your own head about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so much.
About the whys and the whats and, whatever else.
Like, yeah, of course. Of course I wasn't going to. The blood was not in my penis. It was in my head. Kind of a thing. But, no, yeah. I mean, I think, good for you, buddy. That's like you could have such a healthy relationship with sex, and that people seem to enjoy that with you as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
not that I've heard anything.
Well, I mean,
I've never heard anything bad, which I think is a good.
It's
a great sign.
That's good.
I mean,
But not to say that things can go poorly, because as soon as you start introducing sex into the equation, there is more room for hurt feelings, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because you are crossing a bridge that you can't come back from, and for some people, it is very much a hey, this was just for fun, and we can keep it that way, or it just happened one time, and that's absolutely fine, right? And then for other people, they might, and myself included, you thought it was one thing, and then you realize it wasn't that for the other person. And because you didn't communicate, because you didn't have a conversation about it, weren't honest about what the intentions were, long term or anything like that. I mean, it definitely can cause more problems. I remember my therapist that I went to a couple years ago had made this kind of remark.
She's like, "We're just having sex for fun.
This is just so you can pay me.
Serious.
This is just so you don't have to pay me $50. Just want to be clear about that."
Sliding scale, baby.
Well, insurance was involved at the time, but she had just kind of pointed out something I never thought about before, is that sometimes people have sex before they realize they were just really great friends the whole time, and because they introduced sex into the equation, it complicated things, and it made it more than what it ever really was, which was you were just awesome friends. And now, because you've had sex and there's more feelings involved, it makes it harder to stop and then still have a relationship. So, some of my best friends are my exes, that I dated.
Wow, friends with exes, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm friends with any of my exes. We weren't friends before.
Yeah,
we fucked. Or
there's only
we were in a relationship.
Oh, really? You never were friends with somebody, started dating them, and then broke up? No.
I've tried to have sex with someone, but I've always wanted to have sex. I mean, I was always attracted to that.
Yeah, of course.
When I was in high school, a high school girl I was into in high school, we were good friends, but she always had boyfriend. Whatever. I just wasn't thought of sexually.
Sure.
And then I was like, I can't be friends. We gotta be, this is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Tried it, didn't work out.
And then you stopped being friends?
Yeah, we stopped being friends.
Ah, see, that's a bummer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think we weren't friends before, because I do care about her. I hope she's doing well and all this jazz. But it's it was just different. I guess there was a lot of shame on my end as well. So I didn't feel good. So that's on me ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, I remember having a conversation with my friend Cassie about we had dated. We were a COVID couple. We'd met maybe a month before lockdown and started dating, and it was pretty casual at that point. We'd only been on a few dates, and then lockdown happened, and we kind of were like, well, we're not allowed to see a lot of people right now. Do you want to just give this a shot? So we basically locked down together, and we broke up literally the day lockdown ended. I was going on a month-long road trip, and
You're like, I'm leaving.
And she was moving to Texas. Oh,
wow.
I was like, all right, well, then this is it, right?
Were these plans all through COVID? You're making plans to go on your road trip, and she's making plans to move to Texas?
Towards the end, she had told me that she was going to start
needs to change.
Interviewing for this job in Texas, because that's where she's from. Right. And
Houston?
San Antonio.
Okay. Yeah. I was just like, is this why you keep going to Houston?
Yeah, I was going to say other reasons involved, other motivations. And then I had been planning on doing this month-long trip anyway because my brother and his wife live in Oregon, and I mountain bike and he mountain bikes, and I was like, I need to get out of the house. I got nothing else to do right now. I'm gonna go on this like month-long mountain bike trip and meet up with my brother.
Crazy.
And so just kind of timing wise, that's just the way it worked out. And then maybe a year later, I had reached out to her because I just had this feeling of I was wondering how she was doing, and there really wasn't any other intention involved. But I just had this thought, and I remember saying to her, like, I just hate the fact that like I'd have to pretend like you don't exist in this world because I think you're an awesome person. We always had a great time together, but I just think like relationship wise, we weren't a great match, and we were kind of thrown together in the most stressful time period for both of us, right?
Yeah.
She was losing her business at the time. We were kind of, became roommates out of nowhere, and we didn't even know each other that long. And there was just stuff, right? And it was like, I think we don't have to continue like a friendship or talk or anything, but I just wanted to let you know, I think you're awesome. And if there is an opportunity for us to like continue to be friends, that would mean a lot to me. So we wound up like just meeting up for a drink and catching up. And now she's still like one of my best friends.
When you say friends,
yeah,
I don't know. Part of me wonders if we mean different things. Like this person's involved in your life, and like you would invite them to your wedding.
Yeah,
like you want to hang out with this person. Interesting.
Yeah, we have
like I have acquaintances, like, but I wouldn't say we're friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I got those too, but I guess
you're like, yeah, we're not friends.
Yeah,
just acquaintances.
I don't think I'd say that in anybody's face.
I thought you were saying that to me right now.
No. Well, I don't know. Are we? I think.
I mean, I think we're moving toward there.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, that's like, I'm not going to invite you. I would at this point think you're a great guy.
Sure.
I wouldn't invite you to my wedding. Kind of a thing. So I mean,
Likewise.
like that's I mean, like
and that's okay.
But I feel like there's a lot. Where's the friendship line then? Like I guess
spending time together, being involved in each other's lives, with communication
and these people
conversations.
Are that involved, and you're like, okay, well, that's great.
Yeah, Cassie, actually, she's a photographer. She came down
jealousy, like...
No, we actually talk about relationship stuff sometimes.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't want to do that with my exes.
Well, the way I see it is that there's nobody that knows you better than them. Like, and
my mom knows me pretty well.
Right. And we only dated for a year.
A boy's best friend is his mother.
Yeah, and mine's kind of the same. It's just, but talking to my mom about stuff is different than talking to my friends about stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So, with like a few of my, again, it's not everybody. I'd say it's like 3 people that we dated for, and these are people that I didn't date for years.
It's not all your exes, you're saying?
No.
Because I know there's some people who are like, oh, it's so important to me to be friends with my exes because it says something about me and makes me feel like I'm this kind of person.
Now, there's some that ended because I'm like, I don't really want to see you again.
Right. There has to be some crazy in there, Or, crazy is my word, but,
And I'm not always the best partner either,
sure.
Yeah, especially being a comic, dude. Like, it's so hard to find people that are interested in kind of in participating in what we're doing because surface level, everybody is, oh yeah, that seems fun. Like you're just going and telling jokes. He's a funny guy, blah, blah, blah. But then when you actually see what it entails, being out late, multiple nights a week.
I have to do acid, go ride my skateboard and paper this fucking parking lot, babe.
Kinda, You don't understand. This is part of the business. It's the only way I'm going to make it. This is important for the industry. It's tough for some people to like commit to that. That's one of the reasons I'm so grateful for Sarah. She's just such a great partner, and I try to be that back to her and I kind of maybe overdo the amount of time that we spend together because I'm gone so much. So when I am home, she gets all my free time.
That's nice.
Yeah, but the thing is, it never feels like a chore. It never feels like I'm sacrificing anything. It's like she's literally my favorite person in the world to hang out with. And
do you feel any pull? Like, oh, I want to be hanging out with my girlfriend versus being out at this show or whatever, or out at this open mic? Although I don't see you at a lot of open mics.
Yeah.
And maybe there was also another thing of tension there because I feel like you came out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're past the club. And then you're all of a sudden, I'm like, I didn't fucking see this guy at Lines there. I never fucking saw this guy at,
I was very strategic about what mics I went to. I was very intentional in
good for you. No,
I don't know.
This guy made a list.
Yeah, exactly. I tried to be pragmatic about things. And there were certain mics. I mean, before COVID, we had, I think, a pretty good system of mics every week that you could kind of rank in terms of, how good, bad they were. And there felt like there was like I don't remember exactly what ones they were, but there was like a progression throughout the week that kind of led up to the Voodoo mic
the
on
big
Thursday.
ones. Yeah.
And that one always had a crowd and was pretty reliable. Like, oh, this kind of feels like a show.
Okay.
So like Monday through Wednesday, you could carve out a joke as best you could and then get a real honest assessment about it on Thursday. And then after COVID, I feel like a lot of that kind of dissolved and old mics went away, new ones surfaced that hadn't really gotten their legs yet. There was just a lot of turnover. A lot of the people that I'd started here with, I'd started like,
about what year was that? Yeah.
I've been here for 6 years.
Okay.
And that we had like
it doesn't seem that long to me. It's just so funny. It's just like,
it's
but
we
that's
had I
just
felt like we had a crew.
It's
You know
just
what
my
I mean?
perspective. Oh yeah, it was very clicky.
Yeah,
very,
well, I at least felt like it was strong comics. Everybody was about the same, around the same age.
Could
Maybe
bench about the same.
What's that?
Could bench about the same.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, what's your squat these days, man? That's
Not
the
a
key.
lot.
I haven't been hitting as many mics, but I'm working that kettlebell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just found certain things weren't serving me anymore in the sense of what's my time? Where am I allocating my time? And if I didn't feel like mics were doing it for me in terms of getting something out of it, like an honest assessment of a joke or a bit or whatever, and I had this extra time, maybe like on a Monday or Tuesday to spend with friends or spend with my girlfriend or spend doing snowboarding or what? Well, you wouldn't do that at night, but like other stuff.
I snowboarded when I was younger.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I still love it, man. It's still super fun. I've been
hard
doing
on
it.
the body, and if you don't do it a lot, you take a lot more punishment than enjoyment at a certain point. For me,
you lose the skill a little bit for
Yeah.
sure. I've been doing it since I was 12. Like, it's just a part of my life. But yeah, I don't know. Do you feel that way? Like, where you have your podcast, you're doing stand up. You have.
Oh yeah, I'd totally rather be with my wife all the time.
Yeah.
Like I want to. Yeah, I mean, I get so angry at Mike sometimes because I'm like, I'm fucking sitting here. I got here early, whatever, trying to do that whole thing. I'm sitting here till the end because this fucking new comic doesn't fucking know me or doesn't think I have any value or enough to put me up early or whatever. Or he's putting his friends up, whatever. I get it. It's like part of it. But it's hard for me to not get frustrated because I'm like, I could be laying at home with my wife eating another pint or whatever, enjoying my life, versus sitting here at this open mic waiting to get up in front of two people, so it's like sometimes that can make me a little bitter. And I'm doing some work, did a couple letter, whatever, but it's frustrating.
I've always been really good about doing new material on shows. So I
mean, if you're getting booked on shows, that's great.
Well, and that comes in waves too, man. That's the thing is like it fluctuates. And when I don't have a lot of local stuff, I leave. Like that's when I schedule tours. So if I'm looking at my calendar like 2 to 3 months in advance and I don't really have a lot, I'm like, hey, that's when I'm gonna go out of town.
I gotta get more organized. I get more lists.
I don't know, man. Yeah, it's just because I want to perform, I want to do the thing, and sometimes local bookings they ebb and flow, right? Like sometimes you get a lot, and they're like, "Oh, this is great," and then for no reason, you just have a dry month or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've never been afraid to try new things on like a weekend show or whatever. You're not dedicating huge chunks of time to it, but I'll throw stuff out.
7 minutes.
Sometimes. Yeah, I mean, it depends on how long the set is,
Sure.
Right? 7 minutes would be probably too much. But but then again, it's somebody told me, I forget who it was. It was Troy Walker. He said, it's the new stuff till it's not. Right?
Yeah,
so just because it's a new bit doesn't mean it's already not funny. Yeah, it's not going to be as funny as it might be months from now. But give yourself a break, in the sense of you're a funny person. If you thought of this, probably a pretty good chance it's going to be pretty funny, even if it's not a killer. Like, trust your gut a little bit more and don't be so afraid to try new things.
Again, ride that wave.
Yeah, man.
Like, ride the wave.
Because, I don't know. Because every bit we have was at one point in time the new thing.
Yeah.
And how many open mic, if I can figure that out over a weekend in front of a live crowd where I'm getting a more honest reaction as opposed to figuring it out over 2 weeks at open mics where there's like, a mixed bag of crowds and or ones that just have comics or nobody at all, then I'll do it because it's more efficient.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Just everybody has their method. And like I said, I haven't even really been writing like a ton recently just because I've been so focused on doing the interrogation stuff. That's just kind of taken up all my time.
So you feel a good balance between your relationship and comedy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is all I was getting. I guess what we started at.
Yeah. Kind of coming around full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. And we were like, we try to make, we make time for each other, and she knows that, hey, we have to plan things out like farther in advance. But we try to go on like a vacation or a trip like every 4 to 5 months, you know, like something that's at least a week.
Yeah.
And
wow. Okay. Yeah.
well, even if it's not,
No, that's cool. I mean, that's
yeah,
that's some life goals right there, baby.
like, well, and I was just in Chicago a couple weeks ago, and she came with me, and we stayed with her relatives, and they need a house sitter. They're going on like a trip for like 10 weeks. And they asked us if we'd be interested in like watching their house for 2 weeks in July.
Yeah.
So I might do that. I want to do that, but she's got to kind of secure the details. But I'm like, yeah, let's go live in Chicago for a couple weeks, you know, just to have fun and maybe get on some shows and just kind of hang out in the city for July because I've heard it's great. But then there's LA next week, and she's not coming with me to that, even though she wants to, because it would go from being like hey, I'm trying to break even on this trip and maybe make a little money.
Yeah.
To now we're getting hotels and going out to dinners and stuff like that. Like now I'm losing money on this trip. So sometimes we can couple the two things together, and then other times I'm like, hey, this is a business trip. Like I gotta do this solo because I'm just crashing at people's houses.
Did she come from some kind of performance background as well, so she gets that, or is it just she's one of those rare birds who gets it?
She gets it. She did improv in college.
Okay.
So she's got a great yes and.
There you go.
So when we're just like hanging out at the house, she's great at it. She's good at like bouncing around and just kind of going with a dumb idea. And I'll say something sometimes. She'll be like, what the fuck did you just say? I'm like, nothing. Just goofing.
Yeah. So I'll just ride this wave till we get something funny.
Yeah. But yeah, like she understands it, and she gets the schedule, and she's very supportive. She comes to a lot of shows, but she also knows that she doesn't have to come to everyone. And I don't really want her to either, because there's definitely nights where I just I don't want to I just don't want to be beholden to anybody. I want to be able to free range around and walk around and hang out in the green room and do whatever, you know?
Sure. Totally get that.
Yeah. How about you guys? You got a good balance?
Yeah. My wife, I met her when she was acting in a play, so she definitely knows the whole networking thing, all that, just like being around, putting the time in, being around, working on your craft thing. She gets it. So very lucky in that respect.
Yeah.
To find somebody who's, gets the lifestyle but isn't not a comic. So
yeah, that's a nice thing too. People always ask if Sarah's a comic, and I'm just like, no, but she's funny. That's I think the best combination.
Important.
Yeah,
it's important.
But I've always found that the dating comics thing it's just like any other relationship. I understand that you can, if it goes south, then you're running into each other more, and it's maybe more uncomfortable.
A lot more, social things.
But man, nobody gets it like somebody else that's doing it.
Sure.
And then maybe that was just me kind of going through a few relationships in a row that always wound up fizzling out at the 5-6 month mark because they just got sick of your schedule. Especially for us, we're at the age where, people are settling down. They're trying to have kids. They're trying to buy a house. They're looking for stability at our age. And I don't have that.
I do hear that siren song of the stability thing. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And it's valid. That's the thing.
Yes,
it's I totally understand why you would want that. I'm just not the right fit for that.
Sure.
So I had a couple of those in a row where I was just like, man, maybe dating a comic would just make more sense, because they understand all of these.
People make it work. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We know plenty of people that they are in great relationships, and we know people that have broken up. I always just think it comes down to the people involved. It's
sure.
Did you end this in a shitty way? Did you guys communicate properly? Did you try to work things out and then are cool with hey, this just isn't working, but doesn't mean we have to hate each other? Did you do that? If you didn't, because that's just people. That's not a comic thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. So would you date another comic? No,
I would. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
I think that says a lot about you. I think your picker's good. You probably got a good picker. I think maybe I didn't at the time. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would. I just, but again, like I kind of, I mean, Sarah and I are kind of in this thing for the long haul. We're really happy
It sounds like
together.
you just moved in together, stuff, so.
Yeah, and I couldn't be happier about it. It's a smaller place. Like eventually, we're going to try to move into a bigger one. So we had to make like a couple IKEA trips just to find some storage stuff.
I love it.
And I'm enjoying. I enjoy doing like home life stuff. Like I did some landscaping the other day.
Oh yeah,
I dig it, man. Maybe it's because I
You dig the landscape.
Yeah, see what I did there?
Yeah, good one.
I'm gonna mulch this opportunity. I don't think that's a saying.
Shit on it.
I guess I just made up a saying. But yeah, just like doing more homebody stuff actually is appealing to me because maybe just because I haven't done
novelty. I
haven't done it in so long. When you're a kid, you help cut the grass or do whatever. But I've been living in apartments and duplexes for forever, where you never had to do any of that shit. So now that it's like she owns the place, so we yeah, and it
does sound like a keeper.
It's nice to kind of build like a home together, right? Sure. And it's fun and enjoyable, like in a different way than something like comedy is, right? Like it's totally separate.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, man! Sounds like you're in a good spot. You know? Hopefully the show just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And where can people find you? Come see a show.
So KoreyDavid.com has all of my dates and stuff on it, and the Interrogation True Crime YouTube page and Instagram. Give us a follow. We post show clips on there, so we tape every show. We cut them up into clips. So if you want to see some highlight reel stuff, the specials on there. So thank you very much for watching that, and giving it a shout out. I really appreciate that.
Like here,
get the subscribe going.
I'm gonna do it.
And then upcoming dates, we've got LA at the Lyric Hyperion on May 25th. We're at Looney's Comedy Quarter down in Colorado Springs on May 30th. And then Dude IDK in Denver on June 6th. And waiting for some more dates from Comedy Works. And June and July are kind of quiet, to be honest. I'm just going to focus on doing the monthly stuff here in Denver. And then it picks back up in August. And I'm rescheduling dates in Chicago and Portland and hopefully LA, and Houston. So we'll see.
Got a lot of stuff going on.
It's hard. It's funny if you think about like when you start doing this. I never saw it as a job, right? It was just something I thought it was fun. But then when you think about it, like if you want this to become a job, like you kind of got to do it all the time, right? Like every weekend, that's when you're making your money. So it's a lot of touring, and then who knows? I mean, maybe ideally find somebody that. Once we put episodes out online, we can get a sponsor for the show, kind of like Kill Tony has, make revenue that way, and then just on ticket sales, maybe a streaming service picks it up. I have no idea, I'm just kind of doing everything I can and just kind of seeing what happens.
That's the best way to go about it. Seems to be working for you, bud.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, we'll say we'll kind of forever be excellent to each other. However you want to sign this episode off, the culmination of this experience for you.
You always look good in a hat.
Thank you. Appreciate it.